To say that diagnosing mental disorders is challenging is a bit of an understatement. First, disorders come in a wide range of types and severities. On top of that, there are usually no physical signs of a mental disorder. No rash, no swelling, no broken bones. So, how do psychologists determine the source of a client's problem and what might be the best course of treatment? Psychologists rely a great deal on how a client describes his or her experiences and behaviors, as well as what the psychologist observes in the client's behavior. But how do psychologists assess what they hear and observe? We spoke with Dr. David Barlow from Boston University about a reference guide known as the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, 4th edition, the DSM-4, and how psychologists use this guide to assess their clients' issues.
So this is our book where we describe and classify all the different types of psychopathology or psychological disorders that people can experience. So it's not just anxiety. Before this book, you know, everybody had kind of their own impression
of what
people were experiencing. They had their own theories of why they were experiencing it. It made communication difficult. Treatments couldn't advance, nor could we really carry out much meaningful research into the nature of these disorders because we couldn't even agree what they were.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's really like a guideline kind
very much so.
of every kind of disorder you were talking about, so that everyone's kind of on the same page.
So thousands of mental health professionals got together. There was a big task force.
Which you were on.
I was on the task force, right? And we, you know, came up with some, you know, meaningful consensus-based definitions of these disorders. Now, the DSM was actually first published in the 50s.
Okay.
And it wasn't very good back then, of course, as you can imagine. It came out with another edition in the late 60s. That wasn't very good either. But the real revolution occurred in 1980.
Okay.
With the publication of the 3rd edition of DSM. It's called DSM-3.
Okay.
And there, the definitions started to become very good.
I see.
And that sparked a lot of additional research since 1980, which produced the DSM-4, the 4th edition, in 1994. And now, in 2013, just a little bit down the road,
the DSM-5.
There's going to be a DSM-5, and work has been proceeding on that for the past 6 or 7 years.
As critical to accurate diagnosis as the DSM-4 is for some psychologists, it's not without its problems and controversy. To learn more about some of the DSM's shortcomings and how these will be addressed in the next edition, we spoke to Dr. Scott Lilienfeld from Emory University.
Prior to the DSM, prior to 1952, there were no DSMs. Pretty much it was anything goes. What was depression to me may have been very different from what depression was to another practitioner. What schizophrenia was to me may have been very different from what it was to another practitioner. The DSM changed all that because it provided clinicians with at least reasonably consensual descriptions and later criteria for what constituted specific mental disorders. But the DSM has consistently been very controversial. There are a host of controversies about it. Let me review a few of them. One big controversy about the DSM is that it is over-medicalizing mental illness. It is diagnosing the equivalent, some people would argue, of psychiatric hangnails. We'd all agree that schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, formerly called manic depression, obsessive-compulsive disorder, are true mental illnesses that often, if not usually, need treatment. No dispute about that. But then you get into controversies about should someone who has problems with arithmetic be diagnosed with mathematics disorder, for example? Should a politician who cannot inhibit his or her sexual impulses be diagnosed with hypersexual desire disorder or sexual addiction? Again, there's a lot of controversy about where the boundaries lie, and if you look at the progress from DSM-1, 1952, to DSM-4, which came out 1994 with a slight revision in 2000, what you see is a gradual increase, some would say an explosion in the number of mental illnesses. Now we're over 350 different mental illnesses. There is concern that we are over-medicalizing mild problems in living, and we are classifying too many mild difficulties in adjustment as disorders. One other big controversy with the DSM is that it relies very heavily on a categorical model of psychopathology, a categorical model of mental illness. What that means is that in general in the DSM, with a few exceptions, the decision about whether or not someone has a mental disorder is simply made on a yes-no basis. Either you have depression or you don't. Either you have a personality disorder or you don't. Either you have alcohol dependence or alcoholism or you don't. In fact, more and more of the research evidence is suggesting that most of these problems, probably not all of them, but most of these problems probably lie on a dimension or a continuum. That's always been a problem with the DSM, is we lose a lot of information by putting people into categories when in fact we probably are dealing with continua or dimensions. There is a great deal of move afoot to try to remove that problem or minimize it by using more of a dimensional system in which many people can be arrayed on a series of dimensions that are relevant to personality, relevant to maladjustment.
Despite its drawbacks, many psychologists would argue that the DSM has greatly improved the treatment of people with mental disorders by taking a medical approach and providing more systematic, accurate diagnoses. In many respects, public perception of mental illness has also improved as a result of the DSM-IV. More and more mental disorders are seen as medical conditions with legitimate causes and treatments. This can only help to encourage more people who suffer from disorders to get the help they need. The DSM is one tool that psychologists can use to do the work that still needs to be done to improve treatments and to remove the stigmas associated with mental disorders.